Mr. President, over the next couple of days, the Senate will consider two more of the President's nominees, Kristi Noem to be Secretary of Homeland Security and Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. A former House member and current governor of the great state of South Dakota, Kristi brings both experience and commitment to her new role. Mr. President, one of the biggest challenges facing the Department of Homeland Security right now is securing our nation's border. 4 years of record-breaking illegal immigration at our southern borders left our country vulnerable to a whole host of security concerns, from terrorist entries to cross-border criminal activity like drug trafficking. Fixing this crisis and restoring respect for the rule of law is one of President Trump and Republicans' top priorities, and it's going to require a decisive and committed leader at the Department of Homeland Security. I believe Kristi has everything it takes to undertake this task. Mr. President, we're also considering the nomination of Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. A veteran of the Army National Guard who served tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, Mr. Hegseth will bring a warrior's perspective to the role of Defense Secretary and will provide much-needed fresh air at the Pentagon. Gone will be the days of woke distractions. The Pentagon's focus will be on war fighting. Mr. Hegseth will concentrate on restoring American strength and repairing the deficiencies in our readiness. As our first president said more than 200 years ago, and I quote, "To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace," end quote. And in a world that has grown increasingly unstable over the past few years, our priority has to be ensuring that the United States military is prepared to meet and defeat any threat. I will continue to ensure that the Senate works as quickly as possible to get President Trump's team in place. Mr. President, before I close, I also want to mention the March for Life, which will be held today in Washington, D.C. As they do every year, tens of thousands of Americans from all across the country will flood the streets of Washington to witness the goodness and value of every human life. The March for Life is just one small facet of the pro-life movement, but it is a key facet because we need this public witness. Abortion happens behind closed doors, and so it can be all too easy to forget that it's happening, to forget that every day in this country babies are being killed by abortion. The pro-abortion Guttmacher Institute reports that there were more than 1 million abortions in 2023 alone. 1 million. That's a lot of lives lost. It's a lot of love lost, and we need to be reminded of this. And so I'm tremendously grateful for the tens of thousands of marchers in Washington, D.C. today who are here to remind us of the terrible cost of abortion and of the infinite value and worth of every human being. I'm looking forward to addressing the March for Life in person later today, and I want to give a special shout out to those who have traveled from South Dakota to be here in Washington. And to all pro-lifers, those here in Washington today and those around the country, I want to say thank you. There's no greater work than standing up for those who cannot stand up and defend themselves. And I'm grateful for everything you do for moms and for their babies.